Hello, greetings and welcome to Math by Mr. Miller. Today we're going to talk about how to solve quadratic equations by the quadratic formula. So we're going to learn the quadratic formula and how to use it. Alright, so you're going to answer the question, how do I solve a quadratic equation? Alright, so a couple ways that we've already learned to solve it are by factoring, graphing, using square roots, completing the square, which is what we just did last class. And then today, how to use the quadratic formula. Alright, so the quadratic formula is this. X equals negative b, or opposite of b. I like to think of it as opposite of b, but you can think of it as negative either way. Opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all over 2a, or all divided by 2a. A way that I learned it when I was in school was a little chant, or like a little nursery rhyme type song. It was like, opposite of b, plus or minus square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac, all over 2a, all over 2a. You're welcome. But that is how I have remembered it for 15 plus years. So if that helps you, sing it to yourself as you're going to sleep, and hopefully that'll help you out in the test and quiz, or the test and the final exam. So you can use the quadratic formula to give the solutions of any quadratic equation in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Alright, so let's try it out. So a hint, write your equations in standard form first. Remember, with decreasing exponents. Alright, and you may use calculators for this part. If you need to, you can borrow one. There's a box up at the front of the class. Alright, so all you're going to do is you're going to look at your terms. Alright, so for example 1, our a value of, that would be right here for our quadratic formula, and right here is 2. Our b is 7, and our c is negative 9. Remember, you have to set it all equal to 0 first, so we would just subtract that 9 from both sides. Alright, now we just simply plug it in. Alright, so our b value is 7, but we want the opposite of 7, so it's negative 7, or the opposite of whatever our b value is. We also have a b value here, so we plug in our 7 here, and that's going to be squared. So make sure you put it in brackets, so that way you're just multiplying, or you're just squaring that term. Minus 4, that always stays the same. Your a, which in this example is 2, and your c, which is negative 9. So remember, put that in parentheses, so that way you see that it's a negative 9 that you're multiplying. All right, and then lastly, all over 2 times a, and our a value again is 2. We just work that out, and we have negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 7 squared gives us 49. And if we multiply 9 times 2, that's 8. Negative 9 times 2 is negative 18, times negative 4 gives us a positive 72, and then 2 times 2 will give us 4. And from here, we've got, so negative 7 plus or minus square root of 121 divided by 4. Square root of 121 is 11. So we just set up two equations to solve for x. We have x equals negative 7 plus 11 divided by 4, and that would give us 4 over 4, or just simply 1. And then negative 7 minus negative 11 would give us negative 18 over 4, which would give us a negative 9 over 2. So those would be our two solutions. All right? If I went a little fast through that, go back, slow it down, walk through it again. We're going to walk through this next example, though. Remember, you are allowed to use your calculators for these examples coming up. All right, so we first need to write everything in standard form. So we need to subtract x from both sides to give us 3x squared minus. Remember, if it's just x, there's an implied 1 there. So that's going to be our b value, negative 1 minus 1, which is our c value. Plug it all in. Our b value is negative 1, so we're plugging it in here. We're also plugging our negative 1 here for our b value. Our a value is 3, so we're plugging it in the multiplied times the 4 and our c value, and 2a. or 2a, which would be 2 times 3. And then our c value is -1. We plug it in here. So we work that out. The opposite of -1 would be 1. So 1 plus or minus square root of -1 times 3 is -3 times -4 gives us a positive 12. -1 squared gives us 1. So we've got let me move that over, 1 plus or minus square root of 13 all over 6, because we multiplied our 2 times 3 to get the 6 here, our 2 times our a value. Alright, so we just set it up, 2 equations. We've got 1 plus square root of 13 over 6, and then also 1 minus the square root of 13 divided by 6. Alright, so our first one, when we work it out, you can use your calculator for this. X would equal 0.77. And then if we work this out, 1 minus the square root of 13 would equal 6. Divided by 6, sorry, would equal a negative 0.43. Alright, I want you to look at the back here. Which method would you use and why? Look at the concept summary from page 615 of your book. It's all right here. Alright, what I want you to do is I want you to read through this, take a little bit of time to read the method and then when you would use that method. Alright, so just for example, factoring used when a quadratic equation can be factored easily. Alright, when you can look at that bad boy and be like, wow, that's easy to factor. Alright, go ahead and look through those. And then I want you to look at the 3 problems that are down at the bottom of your page, and I want you to decide which method you would use and why. Explain why you would use that method. You don't have to solve them, but tell me why. I'll give you a little bit of time, so please pause. Please, seriously, pause just for a moment and then work them out on your own. Thanks. Welcome back. Alright, here are the answers. So check yourself and then move on to the next lesson.